Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into a narrative that perfectly captures the absolute horrifying intersection of corporate negligence and biological terror. I mean, picture this, a city entirely emptied of normal life, completely replaced by this dark, creeping menace lurking in literally every single shadow. We're going to unpack the deeply tragic and terrifying story of Raccoon City and really analyze the catastrophic danger unleashed by a shadowy group you might have heard of, the Umbrella Corporation. Okay, let's set the scene here, because the source material is just instantly gripping and incredibly bleak. Imagine it's way past midnight. Acid rain is relentlessly washing over the cracked, aging asphalt of a completely dead city. It is this highly atmospheric, visceral setting that honestly feels straight out of a gritty, cinematic anime. And the descriptive language used here really nails those extreme sensory details. The air is literally choking on the stench of rust, blood, and lingering chemicals. It's an absolute masterclass in setting a mood. It tells you immediately, before you've even seen a single threat, that something has gone fundamentally horribly wrong. So enter our protagonist, Brian. Now, he isn't some highly trained super soldier or a tactical mastermind. No, he's just a simple courier with his leather jacket collar pulled up against that freezing acid rain. And his directive? It was deceptively simple. Deliver the package, take the money, and leave town before sunrise. He firmly believes he is walking into a straightforward in-and-out job. You know, the classic gig work setup. He has absolutely zero idea what he's actually walking into, and frankly, that initial naivety makes the events that follow so much more terrifying.
Which brings us to a deeply unsettling question. What if his cargo is a literal biological nightmare? I really want you to think about the blind trust required in modern corporate gig work for a second. You get a task, a box, a destination, you follow the little route on your app or map, and you just don't ask questions. But what might you unknowingly be carrying when you unquestioningly follow the orders of a massive, totally opaque organization? The real horror here stems from how painfully ordinary Brian's motivation is, especially when you compare it to the cataclysmic nature of what he's carrying.
And this perfectly illustrates the massive gap between what Brian actually signed up for and the nightmare he's trapped in. He has his completely innocent perspective, right? He's just looking for some fast cash as a simple courier, but the grim reality is a whole different story. He's tightening his grip on this heavy metallic briefcase. It's a cold, bio-sealed container. And the physical, sheer weight of that metallic briefcase really mirrors the immense, unknown gravity of the situation he has just blindly walked straight into.
Actually, let's pause on that specific word for a second, bio-sealed. In a normal, everyday context, you'd probably assume a seal is there to protect the environment from the elements, or maybe to protect the courier who's handling it. But in the context of this story, we need to completely flip that assumption. This seal is absolutely not a protective measure for Brian's well-being. No way. It is a grim, glaring warning of the horrific, deadly nature of the contents locked inside. It heavily implies these dark corporate machinations' secrets so volatile and so dangerous that they require intense industrial-grade containment just to be moved from point A to point B.
So the unbearable tension in our source material finally snaps when the dead city actually begins to react to Brian's presence. With every single step he takes, another set of footsteps echoes right back through the dark. Just imagine the sheer terror of that realization. Sharp claws scraping against metal, heavy, wet breathing resonating out from a nearby dead-end alley. The atmosphere shifts in a split second from an eerie, static quiet to an active, stalking menace. Brian freezes in his tracks, and he aims his flashlight directly into the creeping shadows to confront whatever is out there.
Now, what's really interesting is how the source material clinically breaks down the horror that steps into the beam of his flashlight. We aren't just getting some vague description of a spooky monster. We are provided with the cold, hard facts of a deeply mutated anatomy. The skin is blistered, the eyes are utterly lifeless, the jaw is unhinged at a sickening angle. This methodical breakdown drives home a truly terrifying realization for our courier. The thing slithering out of the dark toward him is definitely not a man. Well, at least not anymore. Let's trace how this builds psychologically for Brian, because it's basically a step-by-step descent into absolute paralyzing terror. First, he hears those echoing footsteps and the wet breathing. Then, he shines his light into the darkness, revealing this mutated horror. And then, he sees it. Pinned directly to the creature's chest is a familiar, chilling emblem, a red and white umbrella, the mark of the Umbrella Corporation. And it's in that exact fraction of a second that Brian connects all the dots. The mecha corporation, the biosealed container in his sweating hand, the mutated monster right in front of him. He realizes, with absolute certainty, his cargo is a biological nightmare. And the moment that horrific realization hits him, the entire city seems to awaken. Brian tries to back away from the creature, but man, it is far too late. The threat level undergoes this sudden, overwhelming escalation. Guttural moaning erupts from literally every single corner of the city. Doors begin to splinter under the sheer weight of unseen forces pressing against them. The once dead streets rapidly fill with moving shadows. Raccoon City isn't just dead, it's actively hunting him. He's entirely trapped in a full-blown apocalyptic scenario.
So, the crucial point here, the true horror, lies in the sheer, devastating irony of his situation. The text spells it out with chilling clarity. He was holding the key to a biological nightmare, a nightmare that threatened to drag all of humanity into the abyss. Brian isn't just some random victim caught in the crossfire of corporate bioterrorism. He is carrying the very catalyst. That heavy, biosealed briefcase he gripped so tightly just to earn a quick paycheck, it's the exact thing that threatens the entire world. The Umbrella Corporation literally used his innocence as a weapon. So, after all of that, we are left with a massive, lingering question. What is really inside that briefcase? And given the immense scale of the horror awakening in Raccoon City, is humanity already lost? The source material leaves us standing right there in the acid rain, with Brian, surrounded by the terrifying moans of the infected, clutching a bioweapon. It is a masterful, totally unresolved cliffhanger that forces you to question the unchecked power of entities like the Umbrella Corporation. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning the structures around you, and I hope this deep dive leaves you eager to uncover the rest of this terrifying narrative.